The ocean spirit dances today to abundance and joy and to eternal peace.
See, this is what we're hoping for. This is part of our hope. Not only that we are members of the elect with fruits meet for repentance, like John the Baptist said, but from our lower state, because we've been brought low, even though we have this knowledge, we have this truth. Remember what it said in Revelation. I know thy works in tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich. Why are we rich? Because we're rich in faith. We have this knowledge. So our hope is at our last end, we're going to be increased. Okay? And if you ask me, the greatest riches right now is to be delivered by Yahushua, is to get that new body that the Apostle Paul spoke about in 1 Corinthians 15th chapter, to get that. Get that new body where we'll never be sick, we'll be immortals, like it said in 1 Corinthians 15, to be delivered from the coming destruction, and to be a part of Yahushua's cabinet in the next kingdom. Okay, those are the real riches right now. That's what we want to get. Because if you get that, you got everything. I mean, you got everything. Okay, so our sights are set a lot higher than this present world. All right. As it is written, the fashion of this world shall pass away. We are individuals of vision. And the scripture said where an individual lacks vision, he perishes. Okay? So we can see the future. Right? And we hope that we're going to be part of it, beginning with the elect.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shah Bahashem, Rakapadash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to his younger brothers, and peace and blessings and salutation to the hopeful elect out there pushing his word and truth and in sincerity across the four winds in the name of Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shah Bahashem, Rakakwadash, pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful elect, the believers, the listeners whom have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bashem Shah. And what I want to get into, all right, with this lesson, is a message to Edom. All right, Ezekiel chapter 35 breakdown. When you go into that chapter, it's the Lord, rebuking, all right, Edom and pronouncing judgment. Okay. You so-called white people, all right, they run the earth, beginning with Amalek, all right, you small hats, you elite bankers, okay, and the lineage of Esau, every descendant of Esau, okay, well, this message is to you, all right, if you descend from Esau, Edom, okay, well, this message is for you, whether you're, like the elite bankers, okay, or you're the common, all right, Edomite walking the earth. Okay, either the average, Joe Edom might walk on the earth. Well, this message is for you. Matter of fact, let's go here. All right. Let's go here. First, let's get this in Malachi. Well, let's go to Genesis. Let's go to the source with this nigga, man. Okay. Well, Genesis, let's say, is it 36? Yep. All right. It said this Genesis 36 and 9. It says, and these are the generations of Esau, the father, okay, of the Edomites in Mount Seir. You see that? Okay. So when you go to Ezekiel 35 and we begin to address, okay, Mount Seir, well, this is speaking to the generations of Esau, okay, the descendants of Esau. You see, because Esau became a nation, Jacob became a nation, all right, and the conflict that we see in the planet Earth, is surrounding, all right, these two nations, all right, the Israelites and the Edomites, Okay, that's the rivalry of the earth. Okay, in which prophecy hinges on these two nations. You see, and we're in the time now, because the Lord allowed, us to be punished by the Edomites for our disobedience. Okay, but as we go into Ezekiel 35, he took it too far. Okay, and now there's a punishment for him and the way that he rules the earth. Okay, in complete wickedness and rebellious and defiant to the Most High. Well, there's a punishment for that, and Ezekiel addresses these things, man. Ezekiel 35 addresses, all right, the nation of people that rule the earth today, which are Edomites, man. Okay, beginning with these elite banking families of Amalek. Okay, now when you go to Ezekiel 35 and 1, it said, moreover, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Mount Seir and prophesy against it. Okay, and see what we're seeing now, prophecy is working against Esau. There was a time when prophecy was in his favor as he was, on his come up to power, you know, as he had, the Renaissance. All right, he was able to colonize the earth, during under the different governments, these European governments, the French, the Spanish, the British being the main three. And now the British, you will have America that will spring up to become, a superpower in the earth. And prophecy was was in this nigga favor, man. Okay, but prophecy will lead him, okay, to be rebellious, all right, to be defiant, to be proud, to take, his possession of the Lord's people too far. Okay, you know, and now prophecy has brought him to great judgment. Okay, now he's gonna have to deal with the wrath of Yahweh Bashim Al Shai. The Lord used him as an instrument of wrath on us, and now the Lord is finna be an instrument of wrath against Esau, man. Okay, it says, and say unto it, thus said the Lord power, behold, O Mount Seir, and this is addressing Esau, all right, the nation of Edom. Okay, the entire lineage of Esau, man. Okay, it says, I am against thee, and I will stretch out my hand against thee, and I will make thee most desolate. Yeah. So the Lord's against this place, and he's going to stretch out his hand against Esau, Edom, against these Edomites, man. And the hand is Yahweh Shai. Okay, and that's why you elites, okay, you're wearied in your counsel. All right, certain things are backfiring against this nigga, man. Okay, they're divided on every level. Okay, the common Edom, the elite Edomites are putting hell on the common Edomites just because the Lord is stirring this place up, man. The Lord is stirring all these things up, man, because he's against you Edomites, man. Okay, and it says, I will lay thy cities waste, and thou shalt be desolate, and thou shalt know that I'm the Lord, Yahweh Bashim Al Shai. Yo, so this is a promise. You see, we don't have to speculate whether America is going to be destroyed. Okay, whether this whole beast system, okay, is going to be brought to naught. You see, this technocracy, if this going to be brought to naught. Okay, we know the Lord is going to destroy this place, man. All right, and the Lord promised, all right, on himself. When you go to Jeremiah 49, all right, you go to the book of Jeremiah 49 and 13, it said, for I have sworn by myself, said the Lord, Yahweh Bashim Al Shai, that Basra shall become a desolation, a reproach, a waste, and a curse, and all the cities thereof shall be perpetual waste. And what is Basra? Okay, Basra was a capital city, okay, in Edom. Okay, you see, so the Lord's getting at Esau, Edom, man. The Lord gets at this nigga, man. That's why he wants to detach himself from, all right, being Edom. Okay, because there's no good news for Esau in the scriptures, man. He's lived this good news. The blessing he got from Isaac, well, he's lived it. Okay, now we in this time. Now we in Jeremiah 49 and 13, where the Lord has sworn by himself, all right, that Basra, which is speaking of America in this time, which is the chief, all right, which is a chief city, okay, of Esau's kingdom, his global kingdom. You see, they said Basra was a chief city. Okay, because let's see if we give us some more Basra, blue letter. Showing myself that Basra. All right, in Hebrew Basra. Okay, yep. It said sheepfold or fortress. And America has been a fortress. Okay, for this global system. You see, America did the finance. America, was a military, branch of, these elites. Okay, so it was likened into a fortress. You see, they extrapolated a lot of wealth through this American system. You know, they subdued a lot of nations. All right, through this American system, man. Okay, but the Lord's going to break down their fortress, man. You see, your house is going to break their fortress down, man. Okay, these missiles are going to lay this place flat. You see, so this is a promise, all right, by Yahweh Bashim Al Shai, okay, that he's going to lay this place desolate, man. Okay, and it's all throughout the scriptures. You see, when you go here, matter of fact, let's get that in Joel, then we go back to Ezekiel. But it's all over the scriptures, man. You see, it's the book of Joel, chapter 3, verses oh, it's a lucky. Now this is the aftermath, all right, of World War III. Okay, it says Joel 3:18. It says, "And it shall come to pass in that day that the mountains shall drop down new wine." All right, and these are the government of Israel, which is going to be established. Okay, when the government of Esau is removed. Okay, this is how, and this is the Lord playing out. Jacob holding the heel of Esau. Because the feet represents the end of a man. So Esau's kingdom, it was birthed during the Renaissance. It had its run, and then it came to an end. Okay, and then what? Jacob. Okay, Jacob's hand. Which your hand goes to your power. You see your ability. Okay, so now Jacob's power is immediately after the end of Esau. Okay, so the mountains are the governments of Israel. It said that the mountains shall drop down new wine, which is new doctrine. Okay, or righteousness, man. And the hills shall flow with milk. Okay. And so the word of the Lord, all right, the wisdom of Yahweh Bashim Al Shai, that new wine, that milk. Okay, which these things are, likened, unto doctrine. You go in Isaiah 55. Okay, and go into it, and it says, "And all the rivers of Judah shall flow with waters." Okay, matter of fact, just to prove real quick, and this speaking of, okay, this wisdom, this milk and wine, all right, which are things, that can sustain you, and the wine was an influence, because when you on the drink, when you're under the influence, this is Isaiah 55:1 said, "Ho, everyone that thirsteth, come ye to the waters." Us thirsting for this truth. And it says, "And he that have no money, come ye buy and eat. Ye come buy wine and milk without money and without price." You see that? Okay, so this doctrine is grooming us up to govern the earth in righteousness, man. That's why from the mountain shall flow what? Going back to Joel, from the mountain shall flow what? The new wine, and unto the hills, okay, milk. You see? All right. So you go here, so from all the places of influence, it's going to flow, all right, a righteous doctrine, a righteous way. All right. So going back to Joel 3:18. Okay. And it says, and it shall come to pass in that day that the mountains shall drop down new wine, and the hills shall flow with milk, and all the rivers of Judah shall flow with waters, and a fountain shall come forth of the house of the Lord, and shall water the valley of Shittim. Okay? And that's just the new government, okay, of Israel that's going to rule the earth in righteousness, man. It's going to influence the earth in righteousness. Okay? And what's going to be of Esau? Well, Joel 3:19, Egypt shall be a desolation, which is America. Okay, it's going to be a memorial, okay, of what happens when you rebel against Yahweh Ba'Shem Al-Shai. Okay, and Edom shall be a desolate wilderness. You see that? So it linked Egypt and Edom, all right, because Edom is that new pharaoh that's hardened against the Lord. Okay, and the Lord is going to what? Show power. Okay, he's using Esau, Edom as an example, okay, of what the result of wickedness is, man, and rebellion. Okay, he's going to make a statement to all the nations in the earth about what he does to Esau, Edom, and these other nations are going to be punished as well. Okay, but it's going to be Esau that's going to get the brunt of the Lord's wrath, man, and it's his kingdom that's going to be completely obliterated, man. It said, for the violence against the children of Judah, you see that? Because they have shed innocent blood in the land, man. This nigga took it too far. This man has taken it way too far, man, and he plans on taking it to another notch, man, with this technocracy, man. And this is where, okay, he's going to be dealt. This is where Esau has to deal with judgment now. He done push the envelope, all right, to the point to where now he has to deal with judgment, okay, and his treatment, all right, of the Lord's people, plays a factor in the Lord's wrath, man, because I said he did too much, and Ezekiel goes into that again. Okay, so we went to Joel about how, the Lord calls him out for, his treatment, okay, of his people. All right, and Ezekiel, he gets called out. Isaiah, you see, it says, because thou hast had a perpetual hatred and has shed the blood of the children of Israel by force of the sword in the time of their calamity and the time that their iniquity had an end. Yeah, so the Lord gave us into, this devil's hand, to serve, the chattel slavery, the hardcore bondage, but he did too much in that, man. Okay, a bulk breaking Jake, experimenting on the woman, cutting children out the womb. You see, and man, he went way too far, man. And then after chattel slavery, okay, he was still a terror unto Jake, man. Jake is fully submitted to the devil, because when Jake was out of slavery, Jake wasn't trying to raise a military man. Jake was just happy with their freedom, man. Okay, but this man, was a constant terror, because that's when you get the KKK is post, chattel slavery, man. I believe there was more lynchings after slavery than during slavery, man. Okay, and then you go into the, Jake, had their little neighborhoods, communities. Jake was a skilled laborer, and Jake was doctors and engineers. And what did Esau do? He flooded them. He blew them up, which it wasn't meant, for Jake to get too comfortable, man. Okay. The way this devil went about it, man. Okay. He just always overdid it. You see? So there's a punishment for that, man. And you go on and on, dealing with the history concerning this nigga, man. Okay. But the Lord constantly calls him out for going too far. Let's go to Isaiah 47. Okay. Isaiah 47. All right. And 6, it says, I was wroth with my people, which he was angry. Wroth goes to the Lord's anger. All right. I have polluted mine inheritance and given them into thy hand. So he defiled us, by allowing the heathen to rule over us, man. But we was defiling ourselves with our own disobedience, man. It says, and thou didst show them no mercy. Upon the ancient has thou very heavily laid thy yoke, man. So this man never showed any mercy in this captivity, man. He was just a relentless tyrant, man. And he had that perpetual hatred for Jacob, man. And see, these Edomites don't know how far back this hatred goes. Okay? It goes way beyond, the slave trade, the hatred that's between, all right, Jacob and Esau. And see, Esau, he, you know, um, has no let up. Okay, even now with these data centers, man. All right, the main location is places where Jake is at, man. Okay, even these death centers, man. All right, every time the devil makes a move, he makes sure to terrorize Jake in the midst of him making any move, man. Okay, he never lets an opportunity go by. All right, to terrorize Jake, man. You see, it's like this nigga just won't. Okay, and the Lord is using him, to be an instrument of judgment. Okay, but see, there's a remnant. Okay, there's awakening and turn back to their power and crying out, man. You see, and our Lord is getting ready to what? Intervene. You see. So let's go here. Let's get that also in Zechariah. Another account. Zechariah 1:15 it says, and I am very sore displeased with the heathen that are at ease. For I was but a little displeased, and they helped forward the affliction. Yeah, so the Lord was a little displeased at us, man. Okay. But you Edomites, man. Okay, in this system, when you heathen, okay, assist Esau, okay, in afflicting his people. He was a little displeased, man, but what you Edomites did, you took it too far, man. Okay, and there's a punishment for that. Okay. you here it is. You forwarded, and then the thing is, Esau, he pushes Jake, he promotes Jake to do the wickedness that got us put into captivity, man, because he wants us a slave forever. So Esau goes out the way to keep us in, this culture of sin. He glorified the culture of sin amongst Jake to keep us separated from our power. So not only the physical, okay, that he go too much, physically, against our people, but the enchantments on the minds of our people to get them to rebel against their power. Okay, he's going to be judged for that as well. Now Jake is, you see, 2/3 are going to be judged for continually participating with this man, especially the prophets have been raised up to tell Jake better, man. With his wisdom and understanding. Okay, with the gospel, the good news. See, the gospel is being preached and is condemning our people that continue on, all right, following this nigga, man. Rebelling with this nigga, man. Okay, so let's go to Ezekiel 35 and yes, I read 5 again. It said, because thou hast had a perpetual hatred and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity, in the time that their iniquity had the end. Therefore, as I live, said the Lord, I will prepare thee unto blood, and blood shall pursue thee, since thou hast not hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee. Yeah, so now, like we said, prophecy is going to work against this nigga, man. That's why we see certain things happening, man. The Lord getting at Esau, man, now. As he like militarily, okay, this devil don't got, he don't have the upper hand like he once did. Okay, the Lord is starting to get at Esau, man. You see, the Lord has created tools of judgment to work against Esau, man. Okay, it's gonna go bad for this nigga militarily. You see, it's gonna go bad for this nigga domestically. Okay. The Lord gonna lift up a standard, on the prophets, man. Hey, this devil, hey, everything finna work against him. He finna be a prey in the earth. For the longest he's been a predator, man. But the Lord's finna make this nigga a prey in the earth, man. Okay. It says, verse 7 said, thus will I make Mount Seir most desolate, and cut off from it him that passeth out and him that returneth. This is America, man. This is the new Mount Seir. Okay, this is Edom's headquarters. All right, this is his headquarters of operations, man. Okay, verse 8, it says, and I will fill his mountains with his slain men, and thy hills, and in the valleys, and in all the rivers shall they fall that are slain with the sword. Yeah, man. So the Lord is going to destroy, okay, you Edomites. All right, everyone in America that's not the elect going to be destroyed, man. Okay, and all you Edomites in America, all right, you're done. Okay, and so the Lord just going to slaughter the land. He's going to bring a great slaughter to the land with these nukes, man. Okay, so let's go here, and it's not, the elites. I'm saying they're not, pro America as far as the society, but this system, this American system, okay, has been their bread and butter. Okay, this is the way that they dominated the earth. You see, but now they're going to be dominated, all right, by prophecy, man. You see, the elites, they're trying to segue, they're trying to dismantle America and weaken it to, set up a global world order where that's going to be all destroyed, man. Okay, it's all going to come down, man. America is going to be, all right, a memorial, okay, of the results of rebellion. You see, it says, I will make thee, all right, I said, I will make thee perpetual desolations, and thy city shall not return, and ye shall know that I'm the Lord, Yahweh Bashim Al Shah, man. So America, once it's destroyed, all right, it'll never come back. Okay, it'll never be inhabited again. Okay, this place is just going to be a desert, all right, for desert creatures. You see, he says, because thou hast said, these two nations and these two countries shall be mine. Okay, we're speaking of the northern and southern kingdom. Okay, and we will possess it, whereas the Lord, all right, was there. You see, and you read this, get some more translations. Okay, so these devils, they was able to, to take the land. Hold on. All right, they was able to take us as a people. They conquered the northern, and southern, okay, kingdom. Okay, let's go here. All right, this is in the NLT, Ezekiel 35 and 10. For you said the lands of Israel and Judah will be ours. All right, now this the northern and southern kingdom. We will take possession of them. We don't care what. We don't care that the Lord Yahweh Bashim Al Shai is there, and look how they treat the Holy Land. Look what they do in the Holy Land. They don't care, that the Heavenly Father chose their land for His people for righteousness, man. They don't give a damn. They're wilding out in that land, man. Okay, they're rebelling the hardest over there in the land. Okay, that's why them small hats, they gonna get it too in this third world war, man. Matter of fact, let's get some more precepts. Okay, so even in the land where you Edomites, because you small hats, and it goes back to the elites, man, because the Rothschild established, okay, what they call the Israeli state today. Okay, and that's a place of rebellion. That place gonna get judged as well, man. America and the state of Israel gonna get it the worst in this third world war. Okay, let's get that in matter of fact, it's in Ezekiel. It's in the next chapter. It addresses you small hats, man. In the next chapter. Okay, this is Ezekiel 36:4. Okay. Well, I started one said, also thou son of man, prophesy against the mountains of Israel and say, ye mountains of Israel, hear the word of the Lord, Yahweh Bashim Shai. Thus said the Lord power, because the enemy have said against you are high, even the ancient places are ours in possession. You see that? So this devil, as the Lord, gave us over into their hand, these devils, became powerful in the earth. They like to say, we can take the land. We got the people. We can just take the land. We can say we the people, because we was powerless, man. And the Lord was allowing these devils, he was allowing Esau to build the case against himself, man. Okay. And now we're at the time when judging that hammer finna hit, that gavel finna hit on his ass, man. Okay. And it's going to mean the destruction, okay, of his kingdom, okay, his enslavement, all right, and his extermination. There's that gavel, which is going to be Yahweh Shai. It's going to be that gavel hitting on his ass, man. Okay. Verse 3 said, therefore prophesy and say, thus said the Lord power, because they have made you desolate and swallow you up on every side, that ye might be a possession unto the residue of the heathen, and you are taken up in the lips of talkers and are infamy to the people. Yeah. So, these devils are all over our land. Okay. Wreaking havoc, terrorizing, is war torn, it's desolate, man. They don't even have sufficient drinking water. Okay, fresh water in the land, man. This place, Esau done turned our land to a bando, man. A war zone, man, a trap zone, man. You turn, our land to one big ghetto, man. Okay, and it says become an infamy, which means you're well known for wickedness. Okay, you're well known for a bad reputation. All right, and these small has reputation is getting worse by the day. Okay, said therefore, ye mountains of Israel, hear the word of the Lord power. Thus said the Lord power to the mountains, and to the hills, and to the rivers, and to the valleys, and to the desolate wastes, and to the cities that are forsaken, which became a prey, a derision to the residue of the heathen, okay, that are round about. So our land has become a prey, a desolate waste, man. The way that these people are running, our land, man. Okay. That place used to be plush, decked out with, it was a paradise, man. It gave forth abundance. Okay. When we was there and we was, obedient. You see? Verse 5 said, therefore, thus said the Lord, surely in the fire of my jealousy have I spoken against the residue of the heathen and against all Idumea, which is who? Esau, Edom. Okay? With all Idumea. So the scriptures call this nigga out directly, man. Okay? Which have appointed my land in their possession with the joy of all their heart, man. Okay? So Ezekiel 35 is getting that, the America. Okay? And then Ezekiel 36, you getting at these small hats, man. And then you all are Edomites, man. Okay, you all descendants of Esau, man. Okay, and this message is for you against all Idumea, every descendant. Okay, it don't matter if you're walking around, don't know what's going on, whether you're in America, okay, with a with an LSU shirt, an Under Armour shoes, it don't matter. You don't know what's going on. This is to you too, or whether you over there in Israel, okay, with the Abraham Lincoln hat, all right, with them curly sideburns, all right, skipping all over the goddamn place. It don't matter. You a part of it too. All Idumea, man. You see, it said, which have appointed my land in their possession with the joy of all their heart, with despiteful minds to cast it out as a prey. And they're doing that just because they're able to do it. That Tel Aviv and And that's why, because the Lord allowed Iran to jack Tel Aviv up, man. To where they got to have their whole pride thing in another place, man, that's close to Sodom and Gomorrah. The ruins of Sodom and Gomorrah, where Sodom and Gomorrah was, okay, in that region. You see? But this just the beginning. That was just a little appetizer of what's really to come. When this war really escalates, okay, and eventually Howard Shock, all right, hit the scene, man. You see? So let's keep reading. It said, prophesy therefore concerning the land of Israel, say unto the mountains, and to the hills, to the rivers, and to the valleys. Thus said the Lord power, behold, I have spoken in my jealousy and in my fury, because ye have borne the shame of the heathen. How is the Lord going to speak in his fury, man? All right, through this war and through sending Yahweh Shah back. Okay, it's going to be the Lord speaking in his fury. Okay, because that's why America and you small hats are going to get the worst end of World War III and the return of Yahweh Shah. Okay, therefore, thus said the Lord, I have lifted up my hand, Yahweh Shah. Surely the heathen that are about you, they shall bear their shame. Yeah, they're going to be put to shame. Okay, they're going to be disappointed at the Lord's judgment, man. Especially you simple small hats, you Amalekites over there in the land that think you the people, and you think that, because they got a doctrine as if, the small hats are starting these wars with everybody, so they can usher in the Messiah, and he's going to come and fight for them in this third world war. It's going to be the complete opposite, my nigga. Okay? You small hats finna get drug over there in the land. Okay, it only gets worse from here. You see? So let's go back to Ezekiel. All right, 35 and 11. It said, therefore, as I live, said the Lord, I will even do according to thine anger and according to thine envy, which thou hast used out of thy hatred against them, and I will make myself known among them when I have judged thee. So the anger and the hatred that this devil, showed toward us, well, the Lord's going to show that toward them. Okay, in a much more magnified way, in a much more amplified way. Okay, so that same judgment and anger that these devils, okay, have been able to execute against us, man, all these years, man, where the Lord's going to show that, and it's going to be in a short amount of time. That's why it's going to be so amplified, man. Because this hatred Esau has shown, over these last few centuries, where the Lord's going to show that hatred, okay, and that anger against Esau in a short amount of time, man. Okay, so it's going to be magnified and amplified on a whole nother level. Okay, he's already made himself known among us by this doctrine, this word. Okay, and he's going to make himself known among us with judgment when he judges your ass, man. Okay, he's going to be putting on the show for for us as well, man. He's going to be he's going to put on a clinic of judgment, okay, against you Edomites, man. Okay, Ezekiel 35 and 12, it says, and thou shalt know I am the Lord, and that I have heard all thy blasphemies which thou hast spoken against the mountains of Israel, saying they are laid desolate, they are given to us to consume. And see, in this devil's mind, we're going to be his possession forever. Long as he can keep 2/3, the majority amongst our people, long as he can keep us in sin, long as he can, especially with this technocracy, and that's why he wants a system of complete control, man. He wants to, in his mind, man, we're just forever in his possession to consume, so he wants to lock down because he wants to do away with the ability for us to, because right now, we're able to prophesy, and we got this word, we're able to teach, okay, call this nigga out. But see, he wants to create a new world order where those things are impossible to do. Okay, that's why he wants to get inside people's neurons and change people's mRNA, and he really wants to prevent any type of uprising. Okay, especially amongst Israel, man. And that's why we know a part of prophecy, man. He's gonna go hard body against the prophets, man. Okay, and the Lord's finna go hard against his ass. That's the thing. The Lord's gonna counter. Okay, and the Lord is countering this nigga now with prophecy, man. You see, so everything that this devil, on his agenda, the Lord's gonna have a counter for that nigga, man. Okay, so we living in some beautiful times, man. We finna see our power judge in the earth. It said, "Thus with your mouth have ye boasted against me, and have multiplied your words against me. I have heard them." Yeah, man. This man is all out rebellion. He's boasting his technology, boasting the AI is God-like, and Neuralink will give you Jesus-like powers and make you do this, and AI is going to do this, and people are not going to be needed, and this technocracy is meant to undermine the Most High, man. This is him boasting against the Most High. When he's boasting in this technology and what it's going to do and it's better than humans, he's saying, well, look, I've created something, okay, better than the creator. I've won up the Most High. This devil is in mind. He's like, I've won up the Most High. I've created, this intelligence, which we always go into, man. Okay. Jake played a major part in him being able, to have AI. Okay. Well, this devil, he has taken it, and ran with it and, mass produced it and scaled it out, to the point he said, well, look, I'm going to make this AI, I'm going to make this technology a God. Okay. And run the earth with it. You see? And that's him boasting against the Most High. You see? He said, thus said the Lord power, when the whole earth rejoices, I will make thee desolate. You see? So this devil, when you go into how the devil has ruled the earth, when you go into what we at now, all right, the earth is in mourning. Okay? The earth is in the condition of mourning because of Esau's rulership. Okay? And as the earth, begins to rejoice, okay, when you go into the in the kingdom, all right, and the earth is being put back in order. All right, the earth is going to be giving forth its strength. It's going to be turned back to paradise. Okay, well, guess what, nigga, you won't enjoy none of it because you're going to be in hardcore bondage this whole time, a 1,000-year period, and then you're going to be done away with, man. Okay, the serpent is going to be permanently removed from the garden. Okay, you see, matter of fact, let's get this in Isaiah. You see, you're going to be eradicated. All right, as the earth is going to go back to, peace, righteousness, wisdom, abundance. Okay, well, you Edomites going to have an expiration date in the kingdom. You see, because even the other heathen, all right, are going to get to enjoy my righteous rulership. Okay, but you devils, you see, all you're going to know is hardcore bondage and then extermination. You see, Isaiah 14:21 said, prepare slaughter for his children, for the iniquity of their fathers, that they do not rise, nor possess the land, nor fill the face of the world with cities. Yeah, so you Edomites, all right, you don't go get to, have lands and build, after this 1,000 years. No, you're going to be exterminated. Okay, you don't get to have any possessions in the earth. You don't get to enjoy the benefits of a righteous kingdom. Okay, because all you would do is seek to undermine and mess it up. Okay, that's your legacy of destroying paradise, man. No, you're out of there, man. You see, it said, for I will rise up against them said the Lord Yahweh Shema Shah of hosts, and cut off from Babylon the name and the remnant and son and nephew, said the Lord Yahweh Shema Shah. And that's the lineage of Esau being cut out. All right, being put out the earth. That's the Lord blotting out the nation of Edom in the earth, man. You see, that legacy of Esau is gonna be blotted out, man. You know, of course, with America, you see, when America is destroyed, man, no one will survive. Okay, and after that 1,000 years of captivity, all right, the Lord is going to end that line. You see, so let's go back to Ezekiel. Let's go here, Ezekiel 35 and 15. So, yep, it says, as thou didst rejoice at the inheritance of the house of Israel, because it was desolate. Yeah, so he rejoiced at our fall, and how he was able to, dominate us. I say take our land, have his way with us. Okay. We fell from that greater state. You see? So I will do unto thee. Thou shalt be desolate, O Mount Seir, and Idumea, even all of it, and they shall know that I am the Lord, Yahweh Bashim Al Shah, man. So now the Lord's anger, okay, is being centered on Esau, man. Okay, the Lord let this devil have his run. Okay, let him prosper in his wickedness, but now the Lord is finna get active with this nigga, man. Okay, and start to work against this nigga. Okay, until he's destroyed, until America is destroyed, until these devils are in captivity, man. And even in captivity, that 1,000 years, the anger of the Lord, all right, is going to be on you, Edomites, man. Okay, and then eventually, after that 1,000 years, you're gonna be exterminated, man. Okay, so that's the point. Just wanted to get into that, Lord will. You brothers, all right, and if you sisters edified to the next time, say shalom, going mashallah, a Bible soon, shalom.